Well, it's a great honor for arguably one of our country's greatest presidents.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Ronald Reagan will be honored posthumously with the 2011 George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service.
Former U.S. Secretary of State James Baker, who was President Reagan's chief of staff, joins us to talk about the honor and the man himself. Secretary Baker, why now?
Not long ago, we celebrated his 100th birthday, the anniversary of what would have been his 100th birthday on February the 6th out at the Reagan Library. And President Bush is honoring President Reagan by giving him the George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service. And I'm accepting the award for President Reagan since I was his White House Chief of Staff and his Secretary of the Treasury.
I'm sure you have some very special stories that you could share with us about your relationship with Ronald Reagan.
Well, you know what's remarkable about the fact that I had a close relationship with Ronald Reagan was that I pretty much led two campaigns against him before he recruited me to be his White House Chief of Staff. That's really something rather unbelievable. I don't believe it's ever happened in American politics before, and I doubt that it is likely to happen again.
What was Ronald Reagan like behind the scenes? Was it different than he was in public?
Well, Ronald Reagan was, I think anybody that worked with him closely and knew him would tell you that he was, at bottom, just a simply lovely human being. He was very, very optimistic. He was hopeful. He was bright. That terrific smile of his was worth 100,000 words from somebody else. And he was a joy to work for. He believed in loyalty up and loyalty down. He could get angry, and I've seen him get angry on a number of occasions, but generally he had good reason to. He gave everybody the benefit of the doubt, and everybody I know that ever worked for him really loved him.
What do you think will be the ultimate legacy of leadership and service that President Reagan epitomized?
President Reagan came into office with a lot of doubts about whether he was anything more than just a grade B movie actor. As it turned out, history has now taught us that he wrote his own speeches. He wrote many, many letters to various people in handwriting. He was a man who believed viscerally in some very, very important big idea principles: smaller government, lower taxes, strong defense, freedom for the individual, those kinds of things.
I think it must say something about Ronald Reagan that he was so willing to stand up to the other great power of the world, seemingly in no uncertain terms. He just seemed like he was very bold about it.
Well, you know, there were a lot of people who claimed to be the strongest supporters of Ronald Reagan, strong conservatives, who didn't want to see him negotiate with the Soviet Union. They didn't like the idea at first, but he began by saying, we're going to see peace through strength. The way you get peace is to be strong. And then when he started his administration, he gave a speech in which he called the Soviet Union the evil empire, and all the people who thought they knew about foreign policy tut-tutted and said, you see that inexperienced actor, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he knew very well what he was doing. And toward the end, he was willing to sit down and negotiate with the Soviets, and he worked very, very closely with Mikhail Gorbachev to make progress on arms control, which he did make, and that progress was further strengthened in the administration of George H.W. Bush, which followed.
Such an honor talking with you as always. Former Secretary of State James Baker. By the way, the 2011 George Bush Award for Excellence will be presented tonight at the George Bush Library in College Station.